Hello, hello. We are live and alive here for episode 4. We're trying to get a little more serious with our approach with chess, not just playing to play and for the love of the game. I do love the game. Just going to try and play with a little more intent. I really want to learn the Caro-Kann. I want to get a book eventually, mainly the defense with black because I struggle with black, and defending off rip. I like being the aggressor. So we're going to get into this video, watch a little 15, 17-minute video, and go from there.
Welcome into the crash course in the Caro-Kann defense, which is one of the main openings that black uses to face the white's king's pawn move pawn to e4. In response to this, black goes pawn to c6, and on the next move, typically they follow up with pawn to d5. And whether you play e4 as white on the first...
For me, I would always typically just jump straight to the center, offer a trade, or even push my e-pawn up. Like it was, I never really understood the little C2 or series C6, I guess, from black.
Move, or whether you play the Caro-Kann defense as black, my goal is to give you a complete understanding, complete overview of the opening move by move so that you know how to handle it. And you don't have to memorize a ton of variations. You just know what are the right moves, what are the right plans, ideas, and of course, we'll spice it up with some juicy tricks. All right, let's start from the very beginning. So the very first question is, why to even play c6 for black? Why not to push the pawn 2 squares forward? Is it that black was unaware that they could play 2 squares forward on the first move? Actually, there was a funny case where Mikhail Troll beyond.
A lot of times I've ripped the queen pawn up to d5 and offer a trade immediately. They bring out the knight, and then I'd have to check and go from there. But they're developing, and I'm just moving my queen around.
Fisher with this stuff.
So this makes a little more sense.
Initially pretended to play pawn c6, known as a more defensive opening, but then said, no, I'm going all out and push the pawn all the way forward to c5. The main advantage of the Caro-Kann defense is that it is solid and simple. As you go pawn to c6, followed by pawn to d5, you kind of lock the position in the center of the board. You also don't allow any kind of bishop c4 moves, which are often annoying in traditional openings.
Also, shout out to Igor Smirnov.
And therefore, you secure your position from any kind of early attacks. Let's compare that to the usual e4, pawn e5.
Shout out to this guy. The way he explains it is easy to follow.
Instead. Here, first of all,
if he's Russian and his last name is basically Smirnov, that's hilarious.
Like at any point, white can go for this bishop c4, targeting your weakest square f7, and that often starts various kinds of fried liver, scholars checkmating, attacking ideas. On top of that, if you play e5 on the first move, you got to be ready to face a bunch of openings, such as the knight f3, or the King's Gambit, or all kinds of d4 moves at any point, knight c3, the Vienna game, the bishop's opening. So there are a ton of openings here, and many of them are theoretically heavy and aggressive for white. For that reason, many coaches recommend for black to play pawn to c6 or pawn to e6, which are simpler because you narrow it down to just a single opening. Plus, again, your position is really solid. You basically don't risk any early attacks from white. That solid nature of an opening comes at the price of a little bit passive position where you're lacking space a little bit, which is especially clear if white chooses to play the advanced variation, where this pawn takes away the natural f6 square from your knight, and this pawn from c6 does not allow you to bring the other knight normally, and so you see that you have a little bit of a clumsy situation. I mean, that's not a big issue. If you know how to deal with this, which we're going to talk about in a moment, you'll see that that's not a big issue. Anyway, main pros of the opening is that it's simple and solid, and main disadvantage is that it's a little bit passive. But the good thing is that your opponents cannot attack you, and they often don't know what to do, so they play bad moves and they lose.
And then they make
now let's talk about the main lines more specifically. At the moment, you're attacking this pawn on e4, and therefore white needs to deal with this somehow. There are 3 usual ways for white to handle that. They can, first of all, just choose the simplest option and take on d5. Alternatively, they can push the pawn forward, choosing the advanced variation. And finally, they can defend this pawn by going knight to c3, and from there, it guards the pawn this way. So these are the 3 main variations that black needs to be ready to face if they're choosing to play the Caro-Kann defense. Players who are not very well familiar with this, the beginner level players, they often choose to play the simplest option, which is an exchange on d5. And simultaneously, it is also the weakest option of white. Because
interesting that it's the weakest, because it's, you're double stack, you're getting a pawn. Most likely I'm going to take it, but
after that, notice that your pawn from c6 relocates to a much better central square,
Okay, so you want to
thus
take with the pawn.
vacating the c6 square for your knight. And therefore, you basically have no problems
queen
whatsoever.
and then it'd be less
Just
developed.
compare this position with the advanced variation, which we saw previously. If instead of an exchange, white pushes the pawn forward, now notice that this pawn is an asset, it takes away this square from your knight, and the c6 pawn of black is more of an obstacle in the way of the other knight. So here white claims to have some space advantage and tries to put pressure on black. Versus if we simply take away these 2 pawns from the board, then we are getting the exchange variation, right? So that is clearly in favor of black. So that's why those amateur players who just choose to simply trade on c6, they think that they, found a smart way to not learn the opening, but in fact, they give you a very good and comfortable game. So after that, you just develop casually. In most cases, they play simple development moves. You then can bring your bishop out to g4, which is a very common motif in lots of the variations of the Caro-Kann defense. Basically, at this point, you want to develop your dark square bishop at some point.
You don't have to run with push the pawn. You don't end up having to run with that bishop. You can, if they bring the pawn out, you can just take or bring it back and have it live on the, what would that be? F5
forward, given the diagonal for the bishop, that simultaneously locks the other bishop behind this pawn chain. And we do not want that. We want our bishop to be more active. That's why before pushing your e6 pawn forward, you first bring the bishop out, and only then on the next move, you then solidify your pawn chain in the center of the board, and now you are good to go. So let's say at castles, I mean, you don't even have to know any opening theory here, really. You just develop your pieces naturally, and on the next move you castle, you're good to go. You've got the semi-open file for your rook. You can place it there. Your knight has a nice square e4.
I'm excited to see what he does with the advanced variation of it and bringing that pawn even further down to lock you up.
Always land it there, starting to be more active. And overall, you're having a great game here. This is clearly not dangerous for black. Moving on to the next main line is the advanced variation, pawn to e5, which we have discussed a little bit already. And by the way, a little later I'll tell you what is my main weapon for handling Caro-Kann as white. And this is really deadly opening, especially in blitz. But for now, let's just cover the main stuff. So pawn e5, the advanced variation. Now, black has to decide how to untangle their minor pieces because it's not obvious how to develop them. There are 2 main lines here for black. It's either to play bishop f5, developing a bishop. Again, the standard idea, first to bring the bishop out and then lock the pawn chain in the center. Or to play c5, trying to challenge white center and give more space for your pieces so that you can later on develop your knight normally. So these are the 2 main lines. The most traditional line is bishop f5, followed by pawn e6. That idea where you build basically the London system as black, right? Or the Slav defense as black. And although that is the main line, but I actually recommend that you go for the c5 line, just because on amateur level it works better. Also, if you play bishop f5, there are a ton of variations that you gotta need to learn, including like the most aggressive pawn to g4 or a tricky pawn to h4, where initially this move doesn't seem to make much sense. And a lot of players, including strong players, play the planned move pawn e6, which actually loses on the spot with pawn to g4. And all of a sudden, it turns out that the bishop is actually trapped here. And whenever it goes somewhere, white can always keep attacking it until the bishop is completely captured and it's time for black to resign. While there is nothing wrong with going into the main line with bishop to f5, I recommend that you go for the central advancement pawn to c5 here. At first, this move looks weird because you have just played c6.
Looks super weird. Looks like you're just gifting him a pawn. I'm interested to see where he goes with this.
Previously, and now you push the pawn forward to c5 in 2 moves instead of doing it in 1 go. But because both sides are playing checkers so far, none of them touch their pieces, that's all right. You don't fall behind in development. Now, here's the main advantage of the move pawn to c5. On amateur level, the most common move by white here is trying to maintain their pawn chain by playing pawn to c3, which is wrong. Now, spoiler, pros play here pawn takes c5, but that's more advanced level stuff, so most of your opponents will stick to this move pawn to c3, kind of playing by analogy with the French defense. But the situation is different. Here in this position, unlike the French defense, if you just keep developing pieces, your bishop is not locked there because your pawn is not on e6 yet, and therefore you can first bring the bishop out to this active square, and only then lock the center. And now you have a much better version of the French defense, where the main problem, this light squared bishop, is now actually an asset that puts pressure.
Push forward.
Moreover, quite often your opponents do not understand really the weakness of their position, which is the weakness of this pawn chain, and they play h3 at some point, which is wrong. And we'll see why in a moment. The thing is, in this case, you actually are okay with trading this bishop for a knight, because after that, you can start to attack the base point of his pawn chain, and white just can't really defend it. Queen b6 is a common move. Now you attack
Queen
this pawn
b6
twice,
nice.
and white already are defenseless actually, because besides attacking this
Bring
pawn,
the bishop out, you're getting a free rook
on
almost.
b2, therefore making it harder for white to
Definitely not free, but
square bishop. Moreover, if you want to put even more pressure onto this pawn, there's also a very classical maneuver here. You develop your knight through e7 to f5, and it's an excellent square where it adds one more attack to this pawn. And basically, quite often, your opponents see that they cannot defend this pawn on d4, so they just castle. Now you can grab the pawn on d4, so you're already a pawn up, your pieces are active. This pawn on e5 is also weak. White has no attack, no idea of what to do, and you already have achieved
almost have a fork.
And now we're approaching the main line, knight to c3. For many years, it's been considered the main weapon of white, and up to this date, a lot of pros use this move, and of course, amateurs use it as well. White defends the pawn on e4 and also puts more pressure to black's center. In this position, black takes on e4 typically because they've got nothing else to do, really. If you think about the position, you cannot develop your bishop at this point because this square is taken away by the queen, this square is taken away by the pawn, and this square is just terribly passive, so you cannot really move the bishop. And if you try to develop a knight this way, white can push forward and chase it back, therefore that doesn't work either, and so black has no other option but to take on e4 because you need a little bit of space to move around. Now, after white recaptures, you still can see the main drawback of the Caro-Kann defense. You're lacking space a little bit. So technically speaking, black is occupying the last 3 ranks, and white is kind of occupying 4 ranks, right? Starting from here and then going all the way back to the first rank, right? So white is having more space and more freedom of maneuver. Now, there are different ways for black to go about this. I recommend the move knight f6. Even though you're willing to double your pawns after this exchange, there are certain other advantages.
Yeah.
For example,
double your pawns, castle on that side, and it's not terrible when they're doubled and you're tucked behind. So you can be a little more aggressive, especially with your bishop and stuff hanging out on the other side.
If you want to avoid doubling pawns and play knight to d7, preparing this move knight f6 so that this square is supported by the other knight, white can play a tricky move queen e2. And now black follows along with their plan, knight f6. That actually leads to a nice cozy checkmate with knight to d6 due to the fact that the pawn is pinned.
Yeah, that's nasty.
That just goes to illustrate that you have some space problems that you ideally would wish to handle somehow. That's why I recommend knight f6 here, going for the so-called Tartakower variation. You attack this knight, and if white doesn't want to move back and waste time, they take on f6, which is what they usually do. You then recapture with a pawn. And now you opened up the position completely. Now you have no problems developing your pieces whatsoever. Therefore, you solve the main problem of the Caro-Kann defense, the lack of space. Also, when you play the Caro-Kann defense, typically you want a simple game, so you don't have to memorize a ton of stuff. And that's exactly what you get here. After that, you will just develop pieces naturally without really the need to know anything. That's cool. Now, yeah, you have these doubled pawns on the king side. So theoretically, if you're facing Magnus Carlsen or somebody else, they will drive you into an endgame and use their pawn majority in the center of the board, create a passed pawn, promote it into a queen and win. But since we don't face those monsters, we don't have to worry about that. Your opponents will typically try to attack your king. And now you overprotected your king side, and you're going to castle there, right? So now we've got this kind of top floor for your castle, the main residence of your king, which is cool, right? You can probably have some great view from there or something else. I don't know. Anyway, you overprotected your king, which is nice because now your opponent will have no clue of what to do. Now you threaten rook e8 check. So let's say they castle. I can bring your bishop out to g4. Again, very simple. You just develop your pieces. They play something. You then develop your knight. Then they also play something. Doesn't really matter. And you have finished your development. Life is good. No need to worry about anything. No need to know the theory. Now, what are you going to do next? Now, let me just share with you.
Less theory is nice. This is nice and simple, but yet sophisticated. Because you're playing smart defense. You're waiting for them to make a mistake. It looks like you're not taking the center developing, but I mean, you're sitting pretty solid back here.
Couple common middle game ideas planned so that you know which ideas to pick from. I mean, definitely you want to bring your rook to e8. That's the only open file in the position, and your rook will be active there. So that's the move that you'll pretty much always play here. All right, after that, I will do something. Again, the beauty of the Caro-Kann defense is that your opponents cannot really attack your king. And because they're not super advanced level players, they don't know what to do otherwise. And so they just start to shuffle around, play bad moves, and often lose. Or they try to go for some desperate attack anyway, which fails, and they still lose. In this position, I think the most played move is something like h3, attacking your bishop, doesn't do much. You can just drop it back. Then they still feel annoyed by this pin. Their queen can't move away because then you can take on f3 and destroy their pawn structure. So they play something like bishop e2. Now, what do you do next? Again, a couple common maneuvers. Quite often in the Caro-Kann defense, you can break open with c5 at some point so that you eliminate white's most advanced pawn and your position becomes free. But you don't have to hurry with that. You can do it anytime you want. What else can you do? You can just play queen c7 simply to finalize your development, connecting your rooks so that both of them are ready to take part in the game. You're creating this battery along this diagonal. Yeah, just a normal solid move. What else can you play? Another common maneuver is to relocate this knight to a better square. You can do this either through some f8 e6 maneuver, maybe targeting f4 square. So let me draw those lines, something like this. Or you can go this way, knight b6, aiming for this d5 juicy square. That's a pretty cool maneuver, by the way. So let's say white does something, knight d2, you trade. Now, you could play knight d5, perfectly fine move, but there is another thing as well. Your f6 pawn initially just overprotects your king. But if there is no danger, such as in this position, you can actually use this pawn for a more aggressive role. You can just push it forward. And now you're ready to push forward and actually grab this bishop on f4. So that's another interesting idea for black in this game.
Can't go anywhere right now.
I mean, I'll show you an example line. Of course, you don't have to memorize it. I'm just showing you different common plans that black can use so that you have an idea of what to do in the middle of the game. Of course, it's not for memorizing, really. Now, if white, let's say, is annoyed by these threats, they can play queen f3, trying to put pressure. You can defend and renew the threat of pawn to f4. Knight e5 is still coming. If they go bishop f4 themselves to block your pawn, you can trade. Now you can also use the rook along the e-file. You can use your knight. So you see that life's pretty good. For example, you can go inside with rook to e2. Well, and usually as you penetrate there, that creates a ton of problems for white. For example, if they just try to trade it off, then they already lose on the spot because you can go knight d5, attack this queen to counterblow. And as the queen goes away to any square, and otherwise you just capture it, you're going to pick up this knight on d2 and continue your devastation there. So that's how white was just shuffling around, was not really sure what to do, and you gradually outplay with rook to e2. And usually as you penetrate there, that creates a ton of problems for white. For example, if they just try to trade it off, then they already lose on the spot because you can go knight d5, attack this queen to counterblow. And as the queen goes away to any square, and otherwise you just capture it, you're going to pick out this knight on d2 and continue your devastation there. So that's how white was just shuffling around, was not really sure what to do, and you gradually outplays them. And that's quite a common scenario when you're playing Caro-Kann against an aggressive player who knows nothing but to attack your king, which doesn't work. And before I show you my main way to handle Caro-Kann as white, let's have a quick warm-up for you. It's a tactical warm-up. Actually, this position took place in the game of the author of the opening, Khan himself. He's playing black. It is black to play and win. And here he played a move which won the game. Now, if you can find it, please write it down in the comments below. And here comes the real Igor Nation stack. It is black to play.
Black to play.
And win. And here
and win. Rook. I think it's rook to c1. And if he takes, if not, you check. You can't because it's pinned. So you go here. And if he takes your queen, I mean, I guess you take, he comes down, you check. Pawn? Pawn on b3? And then rook down? Wonder what the first thing my opponent is also watching is hilarious. I want to see if anyone. Yeah, this guy is. Rook to c1. I thought it was that too. Rook to c1. And then what did this guy say? Winning queen. Yes, because it's pinned. But if he takes, then if you go here and he takes, you have to take, and it's a check, and then you get the queen as well, so you're winning a rook. Okay, I think that's it. Cool. All right, we're going to jump right back. We're going to jump into puzzles first. Let me just remove. Stop sharing. Share screen, chess.com. It's funny because I'm playing the game right now against my buddy. And I think I already messed it up because I brought the pawn up. Brought the wrong one up. Offering the double up early, but I guess whatever. It's different. Okay, let's jump into some puzzles. We're going to play 10 puzzles with intent. Alexa, connect my phone.
Searching. Now connected to Patrick's iPhone.
Got Team Canada playing the Czech Republic tomorrow morning at 10:40, men's hockey. It's going to be good. Excited for that. Let's go. Keep it here for now. All right. Sorry, puzzle time. Sorry. You're close to a checkmate. White to move. Yeah. Sack the queen. Mate is pretty okay. 1 for 1. Do you see a way to win the game? Black to move. Right here. Cool. 2 for 2. We're going to do 10 only. And take our time, too. Finish the puzzle off with the checkmate. White to move. I feel like cool. Eventually it goes here. And then he's made it. 3 for 3. Oops, that's a blunder by me. Can you find a way to win my rook? And you're getting a pass. I mean, he would bring that there. But you'd still be able to figure it out, I think. Get some music going here. Four for 4. You see the checkmate idea. Yeah, right here. I almost threw it right here and lost my queen. Okay. Nope. Can't shut my phone. Was that 5 for 5? Find the game-ending idea. Black to move. Can't go here. Right here. 6 for 6. Got a streak going. Work towards pawn promotion. Cool. 7 for 7. Full streak going. I don't like this track. Can you find a way to win material? Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming he would have moved it. 9 in a row. Last one. Find a way to checkmate me. Black to move. Done. Let's go for one more. I blundered. You can win a rook from me. Black to move. Okay. All right, we're going to jump into it. I'm feeling pretty good. Caro-Kann, Ruy Lopez. Nice and easy. Let's see what happens. Oh, we get black. Different way to start it. We're going to open up that file for both bishops here. Queen's Gambit declines. Let me Slav defense. Accelerated move order. Okay. Canadian. Still not liking this. I need jazz music or something. Something nice and easy to make me want to play. Okay, we're now opening up both bishops, essentially, because a take on that would give me that. I already messed this up somehow. We're going to pin him. Still going to wait and try and play this nice and slow. Get the serious glasses on. Slow music helps me play slower, to be honest. Nice and easy, light jazz. What's this person playing? Beware Steamboats. People are just trying, like, I'm not trying to buy views. Like, I don't know what this guy's, like, I'm doing this for the love of it. All right. Let's see. Oof. This is nasty because if he takes it, I get a free rook. And if not, we march it right back, I think, no? Or here. No. I mean, if he wants, he can have it, but I'm taking that rook. If not, free pawn. We appreciate it. interesting, because that's a pretty nasty check as well. Okay, so he has to run. I'm going to bring it back as much as I want to. And that's free next. He's going to take his knight for sure. I almost want to take with my knight. You can come down. No. Yeah. Do I speak French? That's crazy. I mean, I probably should. Shout out to Massey, though. He's grinding. We're up a piece. It's a pretty nasty move because, yeah, he can take this. And he's looking at mine. But I would take this, and I would get a rook out of it. I want to attack again. This is free if he wants it. I'm offering it to him. I should castle and defend it. Now I can't even castle. I should bring my... knight out. It's a nasty check. I don't understand that move. Am I missing something? It's a free knight then? Wait for them to make the first mistake, honestly. The Caro-Kann's nice for that. It helps me play slow. I kind of switched into a slab defense. But so now here is pretty crazy. I think we're going to play this smart though. Take. That's a nasty check if I can get rid of this knight. Just want to offer it for free. I think he's going to take with. What's he face palming? I still haven't even castled yet. this is still a crazy check. And honestly, like, how do I get that guy out of here? Here, and if he takes, I have a nasty check. I'm just gonna give it to him. I give him a knight for a rook. I'm gonna live there. A nice move. A nasty check. Gotta play a little bit quicker now just because of the time, but I think we're doing okay. It's crashing down. I can now block it. And here, bishop is nasty. We're looking at both. I think we give him that. I mean, I think he thinks he's just going to check me. I'm just going to block it. I think we have to trade. We got to get some pieces off the board here. Oof. That's a nasty check for my rook. Ay, ay, ay. Ugh, and I can't because it's pinned. Oh my God, thank the Lord. Let's see. Could he have? Here next. I just have to. Got to give up a piece here. Either way, I'm losing a piece, I think, in this situation, but I got the time back. I think he could have won. I think I might have just been able to take, I guess, with my queen, and then still defending my rook, but still. This is tight. He's trying to brainstorm right now on how he... I think I have to take. Now we're looking at both. That's a nasty check and a take. Yeah. Check. Here's some options here. Survive that. It could have been a lot worse, to be honest. There was a lot of mistakes, I think, on my end and his there because he had opportunity there to, I think, upgrade. I got to run that back after and see. Lock that up. Free knight. Check. Can't hear. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're just going to run that down. Sloppy on my part, to be honest. I moved too quick. That'll live there. I'll sack my knight, run up a pawn, and win the game. GG. Sloppy, honestly, still, even in that win. GG's. Okay, we got to go back and just see where that... I got to run that back because I think if he played it when he had a chance with his pass pawn that was deep here. Instead of moving that, if he brought this down, I guess I could have taken it. And everything was defended, so it was fine. Okay. I thought for some reason it was defended on his part, and he would have got a free rook. But, okay, we're good. There's still a lot of messy stuff toward the end I'm not even going to look at. Well, Ruy Lopez for the kids. Vietnam. Ruy. We take. We can just move it and make this an easy game. Just move the knight. They never do. Not at this level anymore. I mean, in like the 7s, 8s, 9s, it happened all the time. People understand a little bit more when you come into the thousands. That's why studying does wonders. know. Do I even attempt to pronounce it? Zui Zukui. Zui Zukui. That's a sick name, low-key. He's frozen. I mean, if he moves it, it's crazy, but they almost always they attack mine. Yeah. And we try and kick him with a pawn. It's like I never know which pawn. I think this pawn, because it opens up. It's double defend also, but it also opens up the bishop file to defend mine. Just move the knight. Give me a discover check and a queen. We love the time taken off. And also his name is hilarious. Zui Kui. I wonder if he streams or anything. It just sounds like a streaming name, kind of. Did he move? No. Oh my god, he gave me... Let's go. Thank you, Zui Kui. GG's. Game. Let's game review that just so I can feel good about my percentage. Let's see. 8 moves. The other one was 65. I'm curious. I'm below 40%, I think, on that one. Come on. In the 90s. Has to be, no?
Way to go. You took the advantage when you saw your chance.
I mean, it's 8 moves, so it doesn't really mean much, but let's review my other one too, just to see off 65 where this chess engine has me. Put it in the 40s or 50s. It was a long game. I definitely made some mistakes toward the end.
That free piece won you a hard-fought game. Let's look at how that move made
Still
the difference.
Too many misses, too many blunders, and too many mistakes. Like, I mean, this guy made a lot more, but not even. One extra mistake. It's the double blunder. I will take 69, to be honest. That was going to be a lot lower than that.